Peters, Gypsy.
I make my country proud. Exalt your name with much acclaim, bring you fortune and fame. But back in my homeland I see I'm treated with real scant courtesy. And frankly I don't think that's the way it should be. You should remember me, I who write the songs to make you sit and think. I who write the songs that does tickle you pink. I who sing about love and hate and fictitious themes create. And after all these things I do, and I did it all for you. Well, all I'm asking in my land is more respect for the calypso. Yeah, that's all. Whoa, whoa, yeah. I hear you say I stay away for long, and that is true. And it's not to say that I don't like to be at home with you, but my face is not on my TV show, my songs is not on my radio. It breaks my heart to see why you treat me so badly, when you should remember me. I write these songs that champions the poor man's cause. I who write the songs that circumvent the laws. From slavery to emancipation, I've made my contribution. After all these things I do, God know I did it all for you. So all I'm begging in my land is more respect for the calypso. Yeah, that's it. Whoa, whoa, yeah. It's big parades and motorcades for queens who sell my land. And now this day I'm proud to say the same for this sportsman. But don't mind what the Calypsonian do, don't mind how well I represent you. You still make me feel that me and my art form is cool. But may I remind you, I who write the songs to make you sit and dance. I who write the songs to make you jump, you jump, you jump, you jump and prance. From road march to social commentary, you have always depend on me. And after all these things I do, and I did it all for you. Well, all I'm begging in my land is more respect for the calypso. Yeah, that's all. No place to sing and do my thing. No, I don't have a hall. And I'm afraid promises made I never kept that all. So every back street and alley I roam, I have a culture without a home. Those in authority have little regards for me. May I remind them sincerely, I could write a song to make government strong. I could write a song to bring governance down. I could do it with real humor, or venom like a cobra, and all these things that I could do. So I do it all for you, and all I'm asking in my land is more respect for the calypso. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey. Calypsonian. Did I hear somebody say,
Respect the Calypsonian.
think I heard somebody say,
Respect the Calypsonian.
like if I hear somebody say,
Respect the Calypsonian.
Calypsonians, we must respect ourselves,
Respect the Calypsonian.
as we would never get respect from anyone else.
Respect the Calypsonian.
Remember, in everything you do,
Respect the
the
Calypsonian.
whole world have their eyes on you.
Respect the Calypsonian.
I want you to know there's lots of ways to cope.
Respect the Calypsonian.
You must remember that there's no hope in those.
Respect the Calypsonian.
Ah, in my land.
Respect the Calypsonian.
Ah, in my land.
Respect the Calypsonian.
Ah, in my land.
Respect the Calypsonian.
In my land.
Trying to find the best way to pay off debt? Your home equity could help, and it might be easier to tap into.
By driller. Like my friends and them don't like me. They want police, all jockey. All the things they want me sing about. This government go jail my snout. They want me to sing and say, move the labbers from the highway and have the whole stench installed right inside the heart of Whitehall. But not me, afraid car, afraid he jail me like he jail Rex LaSalle. They want me sing about when fathers died. Kamal Muhammad break down and cry, but afraid, not me. They say a young minister was found in a hotel with a call girl in tongue. But I ain't singing about that. Afraid decision. Like my friends, they may consider what happened to Weeks and Granger is when they jail my backside, that they go be satisfied. But I smarter than all of them. The government I won't offend. I rarely can make a jail. The cocoa and split peas will kill my tail. You see why? Afraid car. I'm talking about the new Baron of Maraval. They say PNM was nearly wrecked by the secretary and his rubber check. But afraid, I don't know. They say by Salvatore building, Carl tell George Beats how he mother make him. But I know nothing about that. Afraid decision. Like my friends, them don't understand why I really afraid that man. You see Bernard and Ernest Pierre. When Carl talk, they have to hear. Government had no money, they say, for last year's public servants back then. No big thing, Carl got on the phone and ordered Kamal to give them a loan. That's why I'm afraid, afraid God. Cause he eating like curry, barbed wire and all. In the trial, Bruce broke up did so well that he leave the home and live in Hilton Hotel. But I'm afraid. They say that Juma who tried us all this there still owe Hilton $2,000 for beer. But I keeping out of that. Afraid decision. Like my friends, them want to retreat, but pushing me in the heat. They say them big boys was small, now they're walking 10 feet tall. Two used to live just like rats, now all over Belmont they're building flats. Another used to sell coconut, now he buy out the whole Queen Street lot. Don't ask me, afraid God, afraid God. The better village dress designer from Marathon. They say Burroughs is an ex-crime fighter, but also a damn good weed pusher. But afraid. They say government passed the divorce bill so that Eric could get his own at will. But I keeping out of that. Afraid decision.
The mighty Chuck Dust, Dr. Hollis Pool, Afraid Carl. That was a classic back in the 1970s when Chucky came out with it. Afraid Carl, talking about the Attorney General of Trinidad at that time, Carl Hudson Phillips, who piloted the famous or infamous sedition bill in Trinidad after the 1970 revolution. And there was a Calypsonian singing Afraid Carl. If Chalky were in Guyana and he sing all them things, I ain't singing, but I hear that a minister was caught with a call girl into, but I'm not singing but that. Afraid Carl. I hear that Burroughs was an ace crime fighter, but a good weed pusher. Not me. I'm not singing but that. Burroughs was I think he was the crime chief first, and then eventually became the commissioner. He had something called the Flying Squad. Paul Slowe would know about them till he came into policing around that time. But them boys could sing about that in Trinidad and don't afraid that no police come in and knocking at their door for questioning. I hear they passed the divorce bill so Eric could get his own at will. Dr. Eric Williams, who was divorcing, and they passed a divorce bill to make it easy to get divorced in Trinidad. And here's the Calypsonian say, I hear they passed a divorce bill so that if Chuck Dust, he's still alive, Chuck Dust don't come to Guyana. Don't come to Guyana. And before that, we heard Gypsy, respect the Calypsonian. Respect the Calypsonian. Is I who sing for you to dance. Is I who sing to bring down governments. Gypsy, don't come to Guyana. You Calypsonians sing to bring down government. Don't come to Guyana. They're coming to arrest you. You know, this thing. Yes, Claude Berman said he knows about the Flying Squad. I'm sure. Joy Stevens, good evening. Go Chalky boy forever. Yes, Chalky was it. I remember Dr. Kimani he had known Chalky. They're all historians together, and Chalky would send an album every year. His new album he would send to Kimani. Kimani at that time was teaching in Buxton, and it said, Kimani, the thing come, so that we find somebody who had a radiogram to play Chalky things. Good evening to all of you, wherever you're joining us from, Claude. Good evening to you. Yes, the flying squad. Vibert White from the East Bank. Vibert, how is East Bank doing? The commotion on the road, they still got the confusion there. Vibert, of course, from Grove. Stephen Fortune, good evening to you. Good evening, all my brothers and sisters who are joining from Maryland, one of my homes. I consider that to be my American home. That's where my people are. Good evening to all of you who are joining us from Maryland, Washington, D.C. Floretta Hamilton, good evening to you. Thomas Robertson, joining us from Atlanta, the capital of the South, Black South, the Black South, Atlanta, joining us from there. I hung out with your family this past weekend, Thomas, and your brother gave me a question to ask Paul Slowe. So, your brother is an old military man, so he had a theory. He has a theory on the Forgenet. Ken Forgenet his skill has not been charged as we speak. And your brother who's an old military man, was giving me a thesis. I will ask Mr. Slowe. Good evening to all of you. Beverly Glenn, good evening to you. Good evening to you, Melissa Jonas. Good evening to you, Anthony. Paulette Kippins, good evening to you. My brother Ashley, good morning to you, because it's that time in England, I think. It's after 12, after midnight. Flash Gordon, my forever brother. Good evening to you, Flash Gordon. I know you have 1,000 questions to me. I'll be back on Buxtonian Morning Time tomorrow morning, so you'll have about 10 questions for Mr. David. I have 10 questions for you. Lawrence, good evening. Good evening to all of you, wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to Politics One. Slow, because we have urgent business to deal with tonight. Let's bring in Mr. Paul Slowe. Here we go. Mr. Slowe, good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Hines. Good evening to all your viewers. I enjoyed the Chargdas song, man. I enjoy it. Afraid Carl, I remember those days, you know. And Gypsy.
Yes.
You know, Gypsy came to Ghana. I saw Gypsy in Ghana some years ago at a private function. There was a house opening in the Garage Park, and Gypsy came there and sang, and I saw him there and I interacted with him there many years ago. Yes,
many years ago. Those are the icons, and of course, Chalky made reference there to Randolph Burroughs.
Yeah, commissioner, the Kojak, the ballet commissioner.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Kojak, yeah.
The Flying Squad.
Flying Squad, yeah, the infamous Flying Squad, yes. Yeah. I remember those days. I mean, in those days, I had not joined the forces yet, but you're following Caribbean news and you're following public affairs and current affairs, and so you knew of those people. Yeah, Randy Burroughs, man.
Yes, and of course, in those days, we would listen to Radio Antilles.
Yeah, Radio Antilles. I knew in those days. I knew all the radios. Radio Antilles at a particular time. I never missed it in the afternoon. And coming back to Chalky, as a little boy, Chalky, he sang For Kane. I mean, that was our favorite. Not Chalky, Gypsy.
For
Kane.
Every rum shop used to sing that.
Every punch back, man. We went to Mr. Jansen punch back on Communal Road as little boy. We punch we put it with 25 cents, and for cane got to be repeated several times. And Mr. Yancey used to come out and reject. Reject it. And we used to call back for we money, man, because of course, we changing the words.
Right. Yes.
Wonderful time, man.
Yeah. I grew up near to rum shop and for cane morning till night. For cane. I said, well, boy, after time I see me. First, my auntie used to give me a strong watch because you're changing the words. Me
Yeah,
know that
exactly.
for cane.
Yes, exactly. You
She
sound what
gone
it
for
sound
cane again.
like. Yeah, what it sound like to you. Gypsy, man. Monday she went for cane. Tuesday she went back again.
Wednesday she went for cane again.
Yes, Gypsy. Great songs, great songs.
Yeah. While we are on this topic, I mean, I'm so distressed, Paul. I as you would say, you're a police. I am an artist. I'm not an artist. I'm a scholar. But scholars and artists, we do the same thing. We try to make sense of the world around us. And sometimes we do it in ways that offend people, offend organizations, offend religions, offend women. Women have been, look, we're talking about Fouquet here. Yeah. Women have been at the butt of calypsonians and other singers and so on and so forth. And this thing about religion, back, remember Soca Baptist with Super Blue,
yes,
Origin, Sparrow,
yeah.
In recent times, David Rudder, High Mass, and so on. And the Calypsonians and other singers have always pushed the envelope as far as religion is a concern. Last night I played Ras Mass, is a high mass, making fun of our Rastafarians, and so Ras Mass, playing on Ras, and saying, here's the Calypsonian, here is the Rastafarian jumping up in the band, and he's Ras Mass. And we had this song. I finally listened to it today because I am not big on lewd lyrics. I listen to it, I hear it. Sometimes when I was young in the dance hall, I would dance to it. But I'm never big on lewd lyrics. But the society has come to accept, especially in this era of dancehall, soca, dancehall, reggae, accept that lewd rhythm. And all of a sudden, this young man made a song with very lewd lyrics, making reference to the goddess Lakshmi. And I would disagree with lyrics like that any day, any night. But I would fight for the right of the singer to express himself. Now, when you express yourself, some people are going to like your lyrics, some people are not going to like it. You're offending some people with your lyrics. We know sometimes people who do sculptures or painting, they paint. I remember when I was a boy and, a sculptor bring a naked skinned woman. People say, oh my God, Lord, and so on. But the society eventually came to recognize the right of the artist to express himself. Here we have this young man called in by the police for questioning. Now, it's one thing to denounce him for desecrating a religion. I am all for that. I don't have a problem with that. But since when that thing becomes an offense in our own Guyana? I mean, Mighty Kineri sing Mr. Beckles.
Yes.
Should the police go in the grave and exhume and bring him and say that you are offending, an entire profession, because Dr. Beckles was a real person. Yeah. Right? The other Dr. Beckles for real. Should Dr. Beckles have sued the college? And we go on and on. So I am making a differentiation here between lewd lyrics, disrespectful lyrics, and the right of the artist as a policeman. Were you ever been called to go and arrest a reggae singer or a calypsonian for bad lyrics, disrespectful lyrics? Talk to me.
No, that would have never happened in my days because, first of all, they were more tolerant. You mentioned some of the songs. I listened to that song just so because of all the controversy that surrounded it. I decided to listen to the lyrics, and again, it's offensive to some. I would never even listen to it again, you know. But I just wanted, I don't want it to go by ear. I wanted to listen to it. Yes, it's offensive. So what? When you're talking about cultural expression, go to Jamaica. You talk about those cultures. Right at Independence Park, opposite the Hilton Hotel, they have an Independence Park. There a statue. A man with the largest penis, a sculptor with the largest penis you can find. Right in the middle of Kingston, right? You go towards the North Coast, you travel someplace, those things are on sale. Those things are on sale. It's a cultural expression. You might not agree with it. So therefore, avoid it. And the question I want to ask the police and those who arrested him, what are you really investigating? What law? I know how things go in Guyana now. They're going to get the DPP or somebody to box the book and find something to say, well, they're charging him. Or they're going to get somebody to make some report to say, well, look, I was offended by this. And that is what you're going to, what I would call extremism. And Dr. Younge would remember, years ago, Salman Rushdie, Satanic Verses,
Yes.
right? When that author wrote that book, and the people put a fatwa on him, and he had to go into hiding because the clerics, Muslim clerics, put an all because he wrote something that they felt was blasphemous. Now, if that is the case, coming back to the Caribbean, there's a whole genre of lyrics, explicit lyrics in the minibuses and all this type of thing, and they're not doing anything about that. But this man, and again, I'm saying I'm not condoning that, right? Because I believe it's rather offensive, right? So don't listen to it. You might even go so far. Remember, Calypso was sung some years ago, and the minister at the time, who was Ben, who was at infrastructure, he walked into NCN and he ordered them not to play the song. He virtually banned it, right? And many songs like that. Only the other day, I think year for the last, that schoolgirl, that little girl sang a song,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
they disqualified her because of fine. Well, it is not fine, but to arrest this guy, Skello, I think is his name, based on it's extreme. It is extreme. What are you going to charge him for? What offense has he committed? And that is the problem you have. And that is what I've been saying over and over. You have policemen now in senior positions who really and truly don't operate in a professional manner. And let me say this without any fear of contradiction. The police would not have listened to that and decide that we're going to arrest him. Somebody would have called him, somebody in authority would have called him and say, hey, this thing, go and hold him on and question it. That is what is happening. That is what is happening. And the same people will tell you about democracy. The same people will tell you about constitutional rights to freedom and all this everything. Again, let me say that I am not in favor of what was sung. But as I said, I listened to it once so I can hear what is the offensive lyrics you're talking about. And I guess it can offend people, but you're talking about cultural expression. And let me say this to you, know that in the era of stink and dirty and all these things that they are promoting officially, how can they be surprised when something like that come out? They are promoting all that stink and dirty. And some of the artists they bring, they brought people tell you promoting us other violence and so on. Openly, they sponsor them and bring them. And they cannot see that this is perhaps a spin-off of that.
Yes. And you know, I mean, the thing is, when you start I'm back. Where does it end? Where does it end? 2 years ago, as you pointed out, this young girl, child was, or Calypso was banned, and we made noise over it, but we let it go. And here we are seeing the succession of that. Now it's gone from banning to the police called in. We don't know where it's going to go. But I am not going to denounce Skello publicly. I'm not going to do it because I don't want my denunciation to be used as a justification for pulling in for questioning and perhaps charging, you know? So I am making a separation between lewd lyrics, and as you said, lewd lyrics have come to be accepted.
Yep.
I am sometimes amazed at the kind of lyrics I would hear coming out of the minibus, or sometimes you go to a party and you hear, and the little children, they're repeating it and so on. And the society has come to accept it. And all of a sudden, 40 pandits on the West Coast at a demonstration on Sunday, and Monday this guy get pulled in. My God. Mr. Slowe, I was hanging out with some friends of mine this weekend, and an old soldier raised with me the question of Ken Fudgeny, the fact that he has not been, his killer has not been arrested. Nobody has been arrested for his killing. And people think that that is a more straightforward case than the other guy who was charged for the other young man's killing. And this military man was suggesting to me that when you're out and the police shoots into a crowd, the police cannot shoot without an order from the senior commander on the scene. And he's suggesting that that is the quandary that they're in, that if a policeman shoots, the responsibility is really the senior officer on the ground who's the one who has to give the order to shoot. Is he onto something? Talk to me.
Yeah, he's onto it there, because I have done public order training. I used to teach public order in the police force for many, many years. I said on speaking out that there's no one in uniform or out of uniform in Ghana with more public order experience than I have. None of them, right? Not only the theory, but and getting into the street in October 5 to deal with crowds. So I understand what should take place in a public order scenario. And this military, or this former military man, is correct. And I've been emphasizing that. If it comes, there's what we call minimum force in dealing with public order. Minimum force, where you build up. You turn out because the crowd might be unruly, even pelting bottles and lighting fire on street and so on, right? You warn, you got a bull on, you want people to disperse. You fail to disperse, you might then go to, we have what we used to call the baton section. You might go and see if you can arrest a few persons. And then the training was, you try to arrest the people who seem to be the ones who are leading this thing. Then from that, again, is minimum force. You might then want to use tear smoke, because the aim is never to kill or to seriously injure persons, it's to disperse those who are there. Tear smoke is a little controversial because it doesn't discriminate. So you throw the tear smoke, it goes to wherever the breeze carries it. So a lot of innocent people in their homes and so on are likely to be affected. So you're always cautious about using that. If you're going to shoot, whether it's pellets, whether it's rubber bullet, whether it's gun, the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801, Section 306 to 309, which speaks about riots and similar offenses, dictates that in most circumstances you have to read the riot proclamation if the people are rioting. A proclamation is read. And as I say, I used to teach this subject many, many years ago. And so even now, without even reference to any book, I can read the riot proclamation, right? You read the riot proclamation. It says, His Excellency the President charges and commands all forces assembled immediately to disperse themselves and peaceably to depart to your habitation or lawful place of business upon the pain of being guilty of an offense on conviction for which you may sentence to imprisonment. Then it says by command of the president. You read the riot proclamation. Then the law says that if a person, if the proclamation is read, or when the proclamation is read, you have 15 minutes to disperse. 15 minutes. Now that is another step. Now the final step, what we call shooting. Before you go into that, another warning is given. There's a banner you're supposed to go there that on the banner mark big disposal fire. Well, we know that that is daytime because if you put it in the night, you're not likely to see. But I'm saying this to say, you don't just go out and shooting just like that. And if it comes to shooting, the man who is in charge of that set of people out there, the police out there, will identify one man, one policeman who is armed with whatever he's armed with, and direct him to fire one round. One round. So it's not indiscriminate. You decide to go and shoot bow, 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 bow. As I saw what took place there on April the 20th, totally against all the protocols. I know they're going to jump out. Let them come out and try to justify that, because I've said I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the training. I even did public order training in the UK when I went to police staff college back in 1994, sometime then. We did simulations one at Onslow. I think that is the name of the. So I understand what they say, what you saw there, and it's totally against all the. You do not shoot. I saw a video which I showed and speaking out. Two policemen during the night at the 28th with pistol in the hand, running down the road and shooting at people. And from a tactical position, I was so worried because one was ahead of the other, and I'm thinking, suppose the one in front comes across into the line of fire of the second one, that he's going to be shot. And then if that were to happen, then you're going to hear is the protesters who may have shot him. The thing was chaotic. And you know, it is sad because I've said it clearly shows a lack of training. In the same video that I referenced there, here's somebody at some stage called, come back, madness. So that soldier, military man, is correct. You don't fire indiscriminately at any crowd. You do not. That is not the training. But guess now, all those things have gone through the window. I know that is why too, that in the days when we had to go out and deal with crowds and so on, nobody was killed or seriously injured, you know. And I had to tell a journalist once, right? Because I was the bad man. They used to always, every night on the news, that Paul Slowe do this and Paul Slowe do that. I called in a senior journalist to my office. I was the second in command at Brigham, and I put him to sit down. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. When the police or the riot unit go out there, they go out all the time with live bullets, pellets, live ammunition, right? And I said the fact that no one has been seriously injured or killed is not an accident. It is not an accident, but we are trained not to injure or kill people. But apparently now, there is no training. There is no training now, just people go out there. The evidence is there that the people, based on what we saw there on the 28th and followed there, no training, absolutely no training. And this is not only training at the junior level, but there seems to be no training at the senior level too. So there's no control of those people out there, which is a very dangerous thing. Look what happened in the hospital compound. Police turned up and just opened fire. So even the colleague policemen who were there in the hospital compound had to be running for their lives. They messaged me to complain, we are here. And just so these people turn up and they're shooting while in a hospital compound without any warning to tell people to come out of the compound or anything like that. And we have gotten to a stage where it is very, very, very worrying. Oh, you know, the politicians, the government people are going to come out and try to justify that. Because I understand, a few days ago, the Prime Minister, Mark Phillips, was on a program there. And the man came out in full support of the way the police handled the matter of the situation on the 28th. A former chief of staff, Mark Phillips, came out and was saying that. So you can imagine they're gonna close ranks and justify what really cannot be justified.
Mr. Paul Slowe here tonight, of course, giving us expert insight, because you know this thing has dimensions. There, the political dimensions, you know, the social dimension, but there's a dimension of the national security and policing, and they all are interrelated. But if you don't get one right, you are unlikely to get the story right. Paul, so why no charge in the case of Ken Fudgeny? We have a charge with Ronaldo. The alleged shooter has been charged, but nothing with the Ken Fortuné case? What's going on there?
Well, the issue with that, I think the Fortuné matter, not Fortuné, sorry, the other matter, Peters, Ronaldo Peters, but a very straightforward matter. Very, very straightforward investigation, as we said, cut and dry. There was no question as to who shot and killed him. The sergeant even admitted and said, well, look, it was an accident. So there was no question in that one. Now, the other matter is a little bit more complicated because it requires a proper investigation. I understand people said they saw when a particular person fired. Well, people could say all sort of things. And that is when now you have to get a proper investigation. I said it since the time of the incident, and the postmortem was held. Were they able to recover a bullet from the body? Right? Did they seize all the firearms that were out there? All the police on the duty with firearms, all those firearms should have been seized or lodged, and you make a record of who at which firearm, because you're looking now for the science, ballistic. Because if you recover the bullet, then you can know scientifically from which gun that fatal bullet was fired. I don't know if they did all of that because, again, they don't do proper investigation. People said, and you know, sometimes people say a lot of things, but people said they were able to find a casing which was said to have come from a particular firearm at the scene at the time when Dan was shot. Did they recover that? Did they do ballistic tests? We don't know. We don't know. So that, as I said, it is not that easy. And one of the problems is that everybody's silent. They said that Ross was coming to investigate or to assist with the investigation. They came and they left. And then they were saying that this other investigation is continuing, but they are silent. And once you're silent, it's over a month since that incident took place. And no one of the police officers, whether the commissioner, the crime chief, the divisional commander, nobody has come and faced and said, look, this is where we are in this investigation. And that is part of the thing. That is what feeds some people to say, well, they're covering up because they are not transparent, they're not forthright, right? And that is what they ought to do. But I said, again, as you said, policing, the Dan killing, Fortuné killing, is not as straightforward as the one with Peters, right? Fortuné requires proper investigation. And if you're going to build a case to convict someone, then you might very well have to have scientific evidence to link the person who would have fired to the bullet that ended up killing Dan. So we don't know where it is, but I'm just explaining that would have been required.
That would have been required. Oh, boy. Let me ask you a general question, and then I'll get into some of the specific questions I want to ask. We have had high-profile cases involving the police, extrajudicial killings, etc. The case of young Adriana Younge does not necessarily have to do directly with the police, because nobody is accusing the police of shooting the child or killing the child. So in that sense, the police is not directly involved. But the police is all over this story. It's all over this incident for reasons that the country and beyond know. So we have had these stories. Why after a month, the Adriana Younge case doesn't go away? As a police, an old police, as a security expert, explain to us from that standpoint, in a general way, why this story is not going away.
Well, I think tomorrow going to be what, 3 weeks tomorrow? Because I think she was shot on the 20th. That's a shot, hold on. She went missing on the 23rd, recovered on the 24th of April. So I think it's about 3 weeks now.
3 weeks, yes.
The reason I believe that the story is not going away, because the general public, now the Guyanese public, people in the diaspora and far afield, feel that there's an attempt to cover up this wrongdoing. So that is what is keeping it there. The people feel that it's an attempt to cover up. And that is what is causing the outrage that we are seeing, right? Then you have a situation now where it would appear, I mean, the government talks about closure, The family also wants closure, but closure to the government and closure to the family seems to be different thing altogether. It seems to me that the closure for the government is, look, I'll bury this girl, and then if she's buried, then a couple of days or so after, people, they believe it's going to go away, people are going to forget. For closure for the family means that, look, we must find out what happened, because the story that some of them pushing there and these propagandists and all of these sycophants and so on about possibility of her drowned in the pool, by now they should have ruled that out. But they're not ruling out. By now that should have been ruled out, that she did not drown at the pool. I saw some pictures yesterday on Speaking Out, and I will show them again tomorrow. She did not. From all the evidence, she did not drown in the pool. Critic went there the night. He said nobody in the pool. He took video. Then he's walking back now to say, well, look, the place was a little murky, and he may not have been able to see down to the bottom and all. All of that is what is causing this thing to remain current, because people detect that people are telling lies. It started with the police, when the police came out with this fanciful statement to say that, look, this girl was seen emptying a car, descriptive, very descriptive, black and red, license plate number and so on, going in an eastern direction towards Villeneuve. People were convinced that was not so, right? Then the police came the next morning to say, look, she had a bus park somewhere. All of that is what is causing people to maintain that, look, this seems to have been foul play, and therefore it is not going to go away until you have a proper investigation conducted by reputable people. And I said that because here, the government, I think last night, this ex-RCMP person came, and they believe that when they say he's here to assist in the investigation. Let me tell you this now. The way how they're going about this, even when that report is submitted at some stage, it's not going to be accepted. It is not going to be accepted, right? Yesterday, we heard the U.S. ambassador basically saying all they have to do is make a request. All they have to do is the FBI is to make a request. And then the president say that they have no intention of why? If you really want closure in this matter, if you really want to get to the bottom of the matter, you said earlier that you're going to leave no stone unturned, no resources will be spared. Well, do that. Let the people come with backing from some proper institution. Because the one man come, let's say the one man decide that you should do polygraph. You should polygraph some people like detective tests. How are you going to go about that? Does he have the necessary resources to do that? You got to do forensic, ballistics, and so on. Who's going to do this forensic? Who's going to do this ballistic? So this thing is not going to go away, even though they're hoping for it to go. It's not going to go away until such time that people are satisfied. And you're not going to satisfy everybody. Let me understand that. But the majority of people are satisfied that a proper investigation is done by a credible institution. That is what is going to bring closure to this matter.
A credible institution. Paul, something that I find unusual about this case. Normally, when these things happened in recent times, the president, members of the government would go to the family, and then we see the family gradually, sometimes very quickly, come out and say, we accept the government thing, and they said they're going to investigate. Let us not have trouble. Let's call for peace, etc. We saw a day or two of that from the family. And then it seems as though the family has gone in another direction. They're saying, we do not believe that we are getting justice. We do not believe the government is going to give us justice. Talk to us about, because you must have been around, when these government officials, because sometimes they walk with the commissioner, they walk with senior police people, when they go to these families, what do they really tell them? How have they in the past been able to get families to pull back? And what may have been the reasons for this family? Initially, the father made some statements, and then the father seems to have disappeared. And it's the mother side of the family. And now they have Dr. Todd, and he is like a breath of fresh air in terms of his comments and his representation of the family. So walk us through what they normally tell these families. And then secondly, why this family seem to be ignoring the government and to be holding out that the government is not being straight with us.
Well, let me say they have every reason to hold out and to believe that the government is not being straight to them. But let me say this. In all of these matters, there's a playbook. Linden or in Boston on the Essequibo Coast, Crindon Bacchus on the East Coast, several others. They will turn up. They will, like it's something prepared. So the president and these ministers are going to turn up. They're going to express condolences. They're going to tell you that we're going to have a thorough, comprehensive investigation. Most times, we're going to have the OPR, the Office of Professional Responsibility. That's the thing. They tell you that all the time. We're going to take care of the funeral. We're not going to, it's something standard. That is what they do all the time. And that is what they did at the commencement of this matter. Went to the family and they talked to the family and so on. But given the lies that have been told by the police, I mentioned it already, girl senior and the girl senior, and therefore people are, I believe, justifiably skeptical. Look at the post-mortem examination on the 28th. One would have expected that when that examination would have been completed, the professional people would have been the one to tell you exactly what happened and next steps, right? That may have satisfied some people. That did not happen. What we had the night, President come out to tell you that drowning, no forcible drowning. No, why is the president making that type of statement? And it turned out that that was false because the post-mortem, the preliminary post-mortem examination never said no forceful drowning. So they have every right people have every right to disbelieve what the government is doing. Because I said before, they're talking about politicizing this incident. Who politicized it? Mark Phillips said so. The president said so up to yesterday. I think at the thing he said so. The very morning of the 24th, even before the body was discovered, a minister of government turned up at the place there and given more or less instructions or to our fellow to say, well, dog must come and all of that. Is that the job of a minister? Is that the job of the minister? Then you have, as I said, the president making the statement about the cause of death and so on. What happened to the commissioner? What happened to the crime chief? And that is the problem, because when the president comes out and he makes a statement, parts of which have proven to be false, how can people then trust the government? People are not going to trust the government because people are saying, and the postmortem, the preliminary postmortem report, which came out, never said anything. That's always been report about no forceful drowning. Never said that. But the president said so the night. He said he was briefed by someone. Some police briefed him to say that that is what took place. And those are some of the things that have led to people distrusting the government, people distrusting the police. This incident, Linden incident, is over a month ago. This incident with Adriana Younge is about 3 weeks now. The commissioner of police has not said a single word. And for the crime chief to have spoken was yesterday the broccoli at the sidelines at the opening of the conference at the Arthur Chung Center. How can you talk about professionalism, you talk about transparency? How can you do that? How can you? That is being so unprofessional, and all of those things have led to people being very skeptical and mistrustful of the police and the releases that they give. Look, they're going back to the Linden incident. What caused people to be distrustful? The police issued a statement shortly after the incident to say that the policemen, all dressed in uniform, turned up to arrest this man who the claim was wanted. And then with media now, social media and all these CCTV cameras and so on, shortly after the show, police came in an unmarked minibus, private minibus, no uniform, run behind the man, shot him, and then drag him out of the place. So right away, you don't have any trust. The main problem, as I see it, with the police, people have no confidence, they have no credibility. They come out with these reports, they say all kind of fancy things, and then it is immediately proven to be wrong. And therefore the distrust is there. The distrust is there. But coming back to this matter with young Adriana Younge, you're not going to get closure until such time that people are satisfied that some proper investigation is done by a competent and credible agency. Not individual, agency. Right? So let me understand that.
Mr. Paul Slowe here tonight. Paul, you know, I have been hanging on your every word since this incident, starting in Bismarck Mackenzie, Linden, but especially the Adriana Younge thing, and I've listened to you over the years, and you always strike that balance between incompetence and politicization of the police force. That a combination of two explains the police force. But I was thrown for six when I heard you on one of the programs, I can't remember which one, talk about the way in which this case is so compromised from beginning to end, and the way in which the police incompetence or willful negligence definitely as causable. When you made reference to the fact that when they found that body in the pool, that people were handling the body was passed from this place to that place, and you pointed out that now, how are you going to get the DNA of all those people who handling the body? And so, and the police, you made the point that there are certain things that the police should have done immediately as that body was discovered, but the police didn't do. Walk us through, because I think that initial episode may be the difference between solving this problem in a real technical way and covering it up. Talk to me.
Now, let's walk through quickly the sequence of events. This girl went to this pool with her grandmother, and they were precise about the timing. I think they said 1 or 2 p.m. on the 23rd. And then she went to get his band and all of that, right? And then she went missing. I see Kit Nascimento and Freddie Kissoon and all them trying to spin something. But let me stick to the facts. That's what we know, right? It is said by them, the family, that after the initial search at the hotel, which seems to have been fairly thorough because they said they checked the pool, they checked public areas, the girl was not seen. They made a report to the Tucson police station. That is what they said. The very afternoon of the 23rd, a report was made. Then to hear the commission and them come and say, well, they got some protocol which says that a missing person report, you have to wait until 24 hours to take any action. Rubbish. This was not a regular missing person report. Yeah, there are missing person reports where somebody comes to the station and says, John Jones did not come home today. We have not seen him. Then you're going to question whether he ever done that before, he or she. And the regular missing. This is a case where they're saying this child was at a particular location at a particular time and then suddenly disappeared from them at that location. Proper policing would have required that you go there immediately to start an investigation as to the whereabouts of this girl. Let me understand too, it might not have been initially investigating homicide. And to be fair to the police, as I've said repeatedly, at Tucson police station or the outpost, wherever they went, I don't think they would have had more than 2 or 3 policemen. So the 2 or 3 policemen that you had there could not have done a proper search on the 23rd, that is the Wednesday, right? But having responded initially and recognized after, well, this girl has not been found, you got to go upstairs, involve the commander. They pull together resources now to come to now. You're up in the ante because this place now is basically a crime scene. The whole hotel, because you don't know actually where this child is. And they're adamant, the parents are adamant, people that she did not leave, right? So you have to come, you have to lock that place down. Every single person who's there, you have to get a name. You have to make sure whether it's staff, whether it's guests, whether it's visitor, whoever. You got to start that process. You have to question each and every individual because people might have seen something. They might have seen her going to some place with somebody, and that is how they investigate. They never did that. And what is very, very worrying to me, and I will continue to say that, is the fact that the divisional commander, Assistant Commissioner Mandal, was on the scene from the Wednesday night and couldn't take control and direct what should have happened. That is the travesty in this whole thing. Coming forward the next morning now when the body was recovered. Again, you have the divisional commander on the scene and he can't control the thing. Everybody milling all around. And I've said again, to be fair to them, all right, maybe you're not treating it as a homicide or anything like that. But from the time the body has been, body was discovered, you have to kick up that arrangement now. You have to up the protocol, cordon off the scene. Nobody should, think. And you know, the father went into the pool, removed the body, right? You can't blame him. But that body should have remained at the site there. You send for your photographers. You send for the medical examiner to examine the body right there and then, for photographs to be taken of the body and the surrounding right there and then. But they never did that. The whole scene was contaminated, right? The whole scene, all because of the police incompetence, perhaps collusion, perhaps even further, because I said there's an offense that you call accessory after the fact. And I maintain that if they knew that that girl had died and they tried to cover it up, that is not only collusion, that is accessory after the fact. You can be charged criminally for that. And again, we said they're doing investigation. All the people who should be there, the policemen, the staff, all of these people. Now to air over the 2 days or so, Dr. start saying, Dexter Todd, the lawyer representing the family, that the police have reached out to him for him to provide names to them to get statement. What really is going on? 2 weeks plus down the road, you don't know who the people who are there. Even if you didn't do it initially at the point there with all the photographs and all the videos and so on, wait, you can't go through to find some of the people who are there, right? And you see, is the way how this thing is handled. And that is what, because it has gotten to the stage now where the scene was compromised. But I maintain that even with, and you know, let me say this. I don't know if they've, up to now, I don't think they've even cordoned that place. Because we saw pictures, people going in there, breaking down wall, people doing all sort of thing, right? A crime was committed, or a crime ought to have been suspected of being committed in that place. And wait, even a day or two after, you are not going to take control of that building and treat it as a crime scene. Because notwithstanding the fire, you get real technical people from the FBI and those people, they can come in there and might very well be able to find incriminated evidence, right? You might be able to find where the fire started. Even our fire service people might have been able to say so. They have not said anything yet where the fire started. Was it, well, we know most certainly it wasn't electrical fire, it was deliberate. But those are some of the things that are causing people to be even more skeptical and worried. That is a cover-up. Nobody wants to, well, not nobody, the government and the police don't really want to get to the real bottom of this thing. It's a cover-up. And the reason, the question you have to ask, why is this their cover-up? You know, another, they came to say, and you know, every time the police issue a release, they bring more controversies to this issue. Because when reluctantly or belatedly they issue the release, they say samples, they say we are taking commission sample water from the pool was taken to be examined. Fluids from the body, they're going to do a toxicology test and so on. And the shocking news to me is that they said samples from the body and the owner were taken for DNA examination. And I asked the question, well, why DNA examination? Why DNA examination? Because if you're saying, as they said, the child drowned and you want to give the impression that she drowned in the pool, then why do you want, that's what they say, not me. That is what, and I know you can't want DNA from the victim for identification. That is not an issue. We know who the body is. So you can't want DNA for identifiers. I believe any DNA in these circumstances that you might have found some biological evidence, and you want to then to see if the thing matches the proprietor. And they're not saying anything. And to say that would not mean that you're compromising the investigation. You came out and you said that you have taken samples for DNA examination somewhere in Mount Sinai in New York or something. That to me, has taken it to another level. Because the only way, as I said, then they come to say no sexual assault and all this type of thing. I mean intact. I get proper training, and therefore I have to ask the question. I mean intact suggests that there was no vaginal sex, but what happened to anal sex? What happened to oral sex? What happened to the victim being used as a sex object? There's so many questions, but because of these incompetent people, they're not coming to give any proper, plausible explanation, and therefore the rumor mills and all of those things will continue to grind.
Paul Slowe tonight, my goodness me. Even for somebody like myself who read 20 books, there was no sexual thing. The hymen was intact. I left it at that. You see the difference between a police and a layman? You all see the difference between a police and a layman. I'm a layman. You said the hymen is intact. I said, well, all right, no sex party. But you heard the police? You heard, and not just the police, because you can be a police and you can't go as deep as that. Clearly, as Paul Slowe would say, he's a policeman, but he's a student. He's a student of law enforcement. He's a student of law enforcement. That's what we are hearing here tonight. And this is why these programs are important, because they go far beneath the surface and make us mere mortals understand why we're mere mortals and that we are not the experts. One of the things that has really angered me about this whole incident, everybody's an expert. Everybody's an expert in pathology. Everybody's an expert in pool, including the president and ministers. Everybody's an expert. We are not experts. That is why I've stayed with the politics of this thing and don't get into the technical thing, because every time I listen to Paul Slowe, I'm feeling stupid. I mean, every time I'm feeling stupid. How did I not think about that? Paul, we're 3 weeks into this thing. The question people are asking, there seem to be three actors: the family, the police, and the government. And I think somewhere in the mix there, the truth is going to emerge. Let's leave the family out for now. Maybe I am not being correct in doing that. What is it? I have been tossing this thing around in my head. Why is the police and the political government holding one head on this matter? The reason I said leave the family out, because the family is holding another head, and the police and the political government are holding one head. What? Help me.
Well, let me say this, Doc. I am convinced that the police and the government, right, they know much more than they are letting out. And there are perhaps some uncomfortable truths and facts about this whole matter. They don't want people to know. That is the whole thing. For example, on the morning, even the night and so on, telephone, people calling, the commander calling. There might very well be evidence that people call and instructed or try to sway the police to go in a particular direction. Because I still maintain the fact that they talk about this girl going into the car, the Wednesday, and the fact that a man was held on the Thursday morning. Don't let me forget that. The man with a car that fits the description was held Thursday morning at the Harbour Bridge. And they said then that they wanted him because initially, according to what he's saying, he struck some child and drove away. And then later on, they said, no, he did not strike this child. It's a case where abduction, they held him there for abduction. And I said to that fella, and I will say it again, that he should pray. Thank Hassan, he's a Muslim. How many times a day you're supposed to pray? Make sure you pray, because it would appear as though he was being set up to take the fall for something. Because the evidence suggests I remember nobody was they allow people to leave the hotel in the morning.
Yes.
It's the civilians on the road. After say nobody are leaving it. Them men turned police. The same people they referring to as scrapeheads and all, they turned police. They did what the police should have done. No one should have been allowed to leave. They stopped people from leaving. Then there was a vehicle trying to come out of the place in the morning. All this is before the body was discovered. It's the same people out there stop it from coming out. And again, because of the police not saying what they're supposed to say, people speculated maybe the body was in there and they were trying to dispose of all kind of things. And I'm saying again, if you have a proper investigation, all of these things are likely to be revealed. Telephone records and all of that, polygraph tests of some of them, I say that they know, or at least they have a strong suspicion as to exactly what transpired. And they got involved from very early, from the get-go, as we say, as part of this scheme to cover up this whole incident. And therefore, they're holding their heads and they're going to say all sorts of things. And that is why they don't want any proper and thorough investigation to be done. They bring a man. I don't know the man. I don't know his background. But they employed someone to come to supervise an investigation. That alone tells us something. Where did they find him? Who recommended him to them? And all sort of things. Who recommended him to them? And they say who pays the piper calls the tune. So if he's coming, again, I'm not going to get into the integrity of the person. So I said it looked bad. The optics look wrong. Because while people calling, and justifiably so, for some institution like the FBI, Scotland Yard, or Royal Mounted Police, they're talking about no individual. Even if an individual from those organizations have to do the investigation, the individuals will be identified by the organization so we can understand that he or she has the support of the organization. Not no retired man come to do an investigation. I think they do not want to get to the bottom of what transpired because the truth might be inconvenient to them. You might very well find that many of them, government and police, might have colluded to cover up this matter. And I said they might have even gone further. They might have committed the crime of an accessory after the fact of murder.
Well, I'm going to ask a basic question, but I think in the context of our conversation tonight, I would like you to spend a minute, or how much time you want on this question. The burial was scheduled for last Monday, and the family said no. The lawyer, Dr. Todd, said that the body is in good shape. There is even talk of embalming the body to make sure. Tell us the importance of not burying that body, the importance of that to solving this crime.
Well, that's the next thing that caused concern, because remember they said that the reason why they couldn't get evidence from half of the body because the body was decomposed or decomposing, something like that. So they couldn't get evidence on half the body. Now that is based on what Dr. Todd said. That is not so. Again, why would you say that if it is that you're not trying to cover up something? Why? And then, as I alluded to earlier, the government desire, my belief, my view, is that the government wants, and a lot of the supporters want the body to be buried. And once the body is buried, then things are going to start to go back to normal. Because, you bury your body, and you can exhume if you want. But I don't think it's the same thing, because once you bury the body and the body starts to decay, then if you're going to exhume certain things you won't be able to find. You're not going to be able to find certain evidence. So I agree, let them keep the body, how long ever they have to keep it. Let them keep the body so that the proper examination is done. And remember, you're doing the proper examination, it's not only internally the organs and all of that, but even the external portion of the body to be properly examined. And I don't know the extent of the examination that was done by the chief pathologist. We understand that a thorough examination was done. But what is wrong with having a second opinion? When we go to the doctor, and the doctor tell us something, you might seek to have a second opinion. If again you have nothing to hide, let them get second opinion, third opinion. What you worry about? What are you worried about if you have nothing to hide, right? But I think the main thing about this burial, main thing to me, is that once you bury, It started the old story then start to fade away. Big funeral service and so on, and everybody come and eulogize and so on, and then couple months down the road, if so long, then it's business as usual, and that is what they are hoping for. That is what they want, especially in this year when you get politics and all this, and they want this to go away as quickly as possible. Because don't forget, you're the politician. I am not. This thing has cut across all lines. The grieving and the outrage cut across religious, cut across racial, and all these lines. It's not only in Guyana, people abroad. I have seen vigils all over. In the US, several places in the US, in the islands, in the Caribbean, and that is what they do not want. They want this thing to go away. They want it to go away as quickly as possible so they can continue to talk politics, talk about election and so on. But this to them is a distraction. To them, this is a distraction that they do not want. And therefore, I'm complimenting the people who are keeping this matter, keep it alive, keep the matter alive, because this girl death should mean something. It should mean something.
This girl death should mean something, Mr. Paul Slowe. Here tonight, whenever Paul comes onto these programs, you know that you are going to get expert analysis. Not speculation, expert analysis. And that is why I'm always glad to have him answer questions that we mere mortals are not able to answer. Anything. Paul, I can't let you go without reference to the events after 2 Monday nights ago, when there were demonstrations and people were blocking the roads and doing all that. In the wake of that, we saw over 100 young men, all arrested, all before the courts, and I suppose the vast majority of them are remanded to prison. Now, the vice president said at his press conference last week that some of the guys may have been wrongfully, these are not his words, but that's what he suggested, may have been wrongfully arrested. First, since when stealing and looting are akin to terrorism? That's one. Second, the police could not have done any big investigation before arresting these guys. Isn't that a violation of their human rights? And where do we stop? For the second time tonight, I'm asking you that question. Where do we stop with this terrorism thing? If we start that stealing becomes terrorism, looting a store becomes terrorism, where do we stop?
No, let me honest, son. And I've said before, it is nearsighted. First of all, there was no terrorism there. The Attorney General had come and tried to justify the charge in terrorism and all of that. No act of terrorism. They are laws to cater, and we're not condoning. I'm not condoning people who are going to loot and people who are going to rob people. I'm not condoning it. I have a law enforcement background, 37 years. I don't condone crime, right? But people are protesting that even the lighting of fire on the road is not something unusual when you have a demonstration. They talk about damaging public infrastructure, all that. Yeah, it is wrong. But then there are charges to cater for that, not terrorism. But you know what has happened in recent times? They are charging with terrorism it's not directed against the persons who are charged. It's just to the general population to get them scared, to try to intimidate people. If you come out to protest, we're going to charge you for terrorism. As I said, no proper investigation. So much so, I did not hear the vice president because I get a meter that's go off when I hear a lot of crap. So I don't listen to him. Yeah? And I get excerpts and all this type of thing. But for him to have said that, what investigation could they have done between Monday night when this thing happened and Wednesday? We understand people who are just passing were take out the photograph, they go photograph. It is said, I don't know who it is again, because they are not coming out to debunk these things, that the driver of the girl's father, somebody passed and snap a picture of him. Next thing you know, wanted bulletin issued for him. wanted bulletin. And I want to remind them, and you see, they don't learn. Not so long ago, I think it was last year, they had some cane harvesters, is what they call them now. They don't call them cane cutter. I don't know why. I used to cut cane, so I got nothing against cane cutters. They were arrested on Region 6 and charged. They were behaving bad on the road. I think the Black Road last and charged. And every single one of them got off. You know why? Because the police couldn't say what the individuals did. They couldn't say that. And that is why I say again, from a policing perspective, that is why we insist when we do the training that you read the riot proclamation. Because the riot proclamation, the law says that once the riot proclamation is read, you have 15 minutes to disperse. So if you're in that area, 15 minutes after the proclamation is read and you're doing nothing, you commit an offense. You can be then arrested and charged for being in a proclaimed area 15 minutes after the proclamation was read. But then read no proclamation, run while old people arrest people and all that. And those people are remanded. Those people are remanded on a terrorist charge. And I say it in the excited because all over the world, I suspect, with this social media and all this, people hear all these terrorists in Guyana. Somebody Google out here, 100 people charged with terrorism. Who wants to come to a country with all them terrorists? Who wants to come to? But the aim of that is to make sure that people are intimidated, and therefore people say, "Bye, don't go." They're going to charge you with terrorism, and they themselves are saying it. They themselves say, "You come out, we're going to charge you with terrorism." Let's see where that will go. And you know, I think about it too. People are charged, and I guess because of the nature of the charge, it's a remand. Because of the nature of the charge, remand. And all that is part of the plan because they know if they charge you with some other thing, you're likely to get bail. So they charge you with terrorism, right? And no magistrate in the current thing will be all magistrates for the matter are going to be reluctant to put someone on bail who is charged with terrorism. But you know, even that, if we check the Bail Act, because that charge, as far as I'm aware, and we're doing the research, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow and speaking out, carried bail is not a non-bailable offense where you can't get bail, like murder and treason and all this stuff. You could get bail, even if it's substantial bail, you can get bail. But it is all part of a plan to intimidate and to make sure that you come out. If you come out, we're going to charge you with terrorism, we're going to remand you to prison. Look at the girl, the nurse assistant.
Yes.
Same thing, inciting terrorism and remanded to prison. Inciting the public with a private conversation. Again, I did the research. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow and speaking out. A private conversation, they're claiming, can incite public people in the public to commit act of terrorism. We are in a sad place now. We are in a real sad place. And I think our voices have to come out, and people got to come out and speak out against it. I have said with the North and others, we got to internationalize these things. You know, they're talking about politicizing the thing, but we got to let the human rights body and all these people know what is going on, the facts. Because when somebody picks up the paper abroad and they see terrorism, they're going to believe it's somebody bombed someplace, bombed down someplace. But we have to let them know the facts. We have to let them know the facts. This is what the people are alleged to have done. This is what they are alleged to have done. And again, I say, when you follow this up here now, because a matter like this, if the police charge so quickly, within 48 hours and so on, then the next time the people come up, the police ought to be able to proceed with the charge.
There you go.
They ought to be able to proceed, but they're going to come up, they're not ready to serve statements and all kind of things. If you are going to move with such alacrity to charge these people with terrorism, one would have expected that you would have done your investigation and you would have gotten evidence to support a charge of terrorism. So therefore, on the next court date, you ought to be able to say, we are ready to proceed. Trust me, the crystal ball that I would look and tell me that ain't going to happen. When they come up the next day, they're going to come up with something, they're ready to file statements, and those people, I suspect some of them might get bail by then, but they're going to be languishing in the prison. Innocent people, you said the vice president said so, that some of them may be innocent. And you know the thing, sir, before one guilty person is convicted, it's better a dozen of them walk free. You have to do a proper investigation, which clearly they could not have done in this time. Because look, the girl missing on the 23rd of April, Up to now, 3 weeks after, we have no proper investigation they're doing. But people are accused of committing acts on the 28th, and 2 days after, they are charged. What more evidence you want to show that these people are just acting in an unprofessional manner and perhaps on the instructions of politicians?
Paul, what might be the case? What might be the reason that the publicized asset throwing on students and a teacher, at least one teacher, maybe more than one teacher, out there in the East Coast next door to your village? What may be the reason that nobody has been arrested for this? What I consider to be a heinous crime, throwing acid on people and so on. They show us a picture of two boys on a motorbike, but nobody has been charged. Politicians went and gave their their sympathy, sorry, not condolences, their sympathy to the family. The president went there. They're up to now, I'm hearing people like Freddie Kissoon saying that this is a political matter, but nobody has been arrested. What's happening here?
Well, when this thing occurred the day, I mean, all of us, based on what we said, well, not all of us, because some of us are not humans. Most right-thinking people, right, were outraged that 2 children would have been injured in that way. I was on a live program at the time, and somebody who is close to the family messaged me to say, and I answered, look, what they're saying is not true. It's some domestic story between the woman and some ex or something, and the person threw, and the children were inadvertently injured. Somebody said so very early. I announced it here. Now they put up this photograph. I can't remember who's saying I called the name of the agency that put it up. But somebody came out and said, look, these 2 men who are said to have done this act, they are currently in prison. Who came out to say that, hey, these people are in prison? You ain't nothing from the police. We understand now. I understand, right? That the truth of the story has been unraveled. And the version that I learned is some domestic thing between this woman and this man and so on. I understand the man is arrested. I understand that the thrower of the acid is arrested. But again, they may say nothing. You know why? Because they run and they politicize the thing. President run and then meet them and they're outraged over that and so on. So they don't want to come now to tell you the truth, to let the president look bad, that he also to blame scrapeheads and all these type of people for this incident when it was not so. So like I said, they want it to blow away. They want it to blow away, right? And that is why they haven't said anything further. That is my view. They haven't said anything further because they know what the truth is. And the truth does not accord with the narrative that they pushed out there very early. That is the issue on that.
Hey, Paul Slowe, it's always a pleasure to have you on this program. To really, I mean, you educate me, you educate all of us here. Paul's program is on Mondays and Wednesdays. Sometimes you pitch in on other days at 11 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 11 o'clock tomorrow, speaking out, exposing corruption, incompetence. My colleague will be here, Mr. Clinton Conway, another retired assistant commissioner. And also, we were both members of the police service commission. Yeah, so we can bring to bear some of our experience and knowledge. And we say we have classes. We teach people the things that they ought to know.
Please tune in to Paul's program tomorrow, Wednesday, and he's on Mondays and Wednesdays. Paul, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you badly want to say before you go?
I just want to say, my students, I'm speaking out, will tell you that I have a crystal ball. And from time to time, I look into the crystal ball and see certain things. And I did say a long time ago, we can dispute the fact that this what we see with this girl's death and the bungling by the police, the incompetence displayed by the police, is what I was warning about a long time. I said, as shortly after the government came into office in 2020, there was this effort still made to Indianize the command structure of the police force. Brutus said it too. Brutus said that they were called by the vice president, of course they denied, and told them that the structure must reflect the society and all that. So they are on steroids, promoting incompetent people into these positions. So you have a situation where the commander of West Demerara, Assistant Commissioner Khalil Mandal, I know Mandal, and I've said it repeatedly, nice guy. But Mandal doesn't have the experience to be a police the assistant commissioner plus a divisional commander. And he is not alone. What I want to tell people, you might be worried, but he's not alone. There are several others. And if incidents were to occur in other areas where these people are, you might get display of similar incompetence because they don't know. And again, I don't blame them fully because it's a system. They are put into this position. They're not trained and they can't train themselves. They're not made to go to exposed to courses. A lot of them go to UG. They got a degree at UG and so on, but UG don't teach policing. Don't. And therefore, you need to have internal courses and external courses abroad so that these people can be properly trained. But when you put a man without any experience, he never run a station, he never run a police subdivision, and then all of a sudden he's a divisional commander. That is why you find when the commander turned up on the scene on the 23rd of April, when this child was reported missing, he didn't know what to do. It's confusion. It's the blind leading the blind. He didn't know what to do. And if he would have then sought to get direction from some people ahead of him, I've seen it there, they too and no. They too and no. So it's the blind leading the blind. And that is what I want to say.
Paul Slowe, thank you very much, my brother. Mr. Paul Slowe here tonight, really giving us more than a mouthful, several mouthfuls. We are going to continue to stay on this matter. It is important that we stay on this matter because they want us to let it go away, but we must not let it go away. It is important that we keep this matter on the front burner. I'll see you all tomorrow night. I'm likely to have Apostle London on tomorrow night, and we'll continue our conversation.
This is Caribbean Vibes. Like my friends and them don't like me. They want police whole jockey. All the things they want me sing about. This government go jail my snout. They want me to sing and say, move the lovers from the highway and have the whole stench installed right inside the heart of Whitehall. But not me, afraid car, afraid he jail me like he jail Rex Lassalle. They want me sing about when fathers died. Kamal Muhammad break down and cried, but afraid, not me. They say a young minister was found in a hotel with a call girl in tongue, but I ain't singing about that. Afraid decision. Like my friends, they may consider what happened to Weeks and Granger is when they jail my backside, that they go be satisfied. But I smarter than all of them. The government I vote to offend. I rarely can make a jail. The cocoa and split peas will kill my tail. You see why? Afraid car, afraid car. I'm talking about the new Baron of Maraval. They say P&M was nearly wrecked by the secretary and his rubber check. But I'm afraid, I don't know. They say by Salvatore building, Carl tell George Meeks how he mother make him. But I know nothing about that. Afraid decision. Like me friends, them don't understand why I really afraid that man. You see Bernard and Ernest here. When Carl talk, they have to hear. Government have no money, they say, for last year's public servants back then. No big thing, Carl got on the phone and ordered Kamal to give them a loan. That's why I'm afraid car. Cause he eating like curry barbed wire and dal. In the trial, Bruce spoke up did so well that he leave the home and live in Hilton Hotel. But I'm afraid. They say Dan Juma, who tried us soldiers here, still owe Hilton $2,000 for beer. But I keeping out of that. Afraid decision.